Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to our channel. Imagine for a moment that you hear a secret so powerful that it can change your life forever. Picture a gentle, trembling voice whispering these words, "This child is yours." And then, in a hushed tone almost lost in the soft clatter of a busy room, a man says, "Give me the answer now." What could these words possibly mean? Stay with me, because today I'm going to share an incredible, touching story of love, secrets, and a promise made in the face of loss. It was a cold, rainy evening in a quiet little town. In one small hospital room, filled with soft lights and the sound of distant rain against the window, sat a brave and kind woman named Sarah. Sarah had been very sick for a long time, and even as she lay in her hospital bed, her eyes sparkled with memories of happier days. Though her body was weak, her heart was strong and filled with love for those she cared about. On that chilly night, Sarah had one secret she had held close for many years. This secret was about a little child, a child whose laughter could light up a dark room and whose smile could bring hope even on the hardest days. Sarah had kept this precious secret for fear that the truth might hurt others, but now, as she felt her strength fading, she knew it was time to share her secret with someone very special. In a comfy chair beside Sarah's bed sat a man named David. David and Sarah had been very close once upon a time, a long, long time ago when they were both young and full of dreams. Even though life had taken them on different paths, David had always cared deeply for Sarah. He was kind, thoughtful, and had a heart big enough to hold many secrets. But tonight, nothing could have prepared him for what was about to be said. As the room grew quieter and the clock on the wall ticked slowly, Sarah mustered every bit of courage left in her. With a soft, trembling voice, she said, "David, I have one final wish. Please listen closely." Her words were gentle, but they vibrated with the intensity of a promise made in love. Then, with great care and emotion, she whispered, "This child is yours." David's eyes widened in shock. For a moment, time seemed to slow down. He could not believe what he had just heard. In his heart, he wondered if he had truly heard her right. With trembling confusion and a heart pounding as if it might burst from his chest, he leaned in a little closer and whispered back, "Give me the answer now." It was as if those two words bridged the gap between a painful past and an uncertain future. Let's take a short trip back in time. Imagine two young souls laughing together on a sunny day. Sarah and David had a wonderful friendship when they were teenagers. They spent long afternoons in the park, sharing secrets, dreams, and even silly jokes that made them laugh until their bellies hurt. They dreamed together of a bright future filled with hope and adventure. But as time passed, life became more complicated. Sarah and David slowly drifted apart as they followed different paths. Sarah's path was filled with secret hopes and silent struggles, while David wandered through life wondering about the decisions he had made. Despite the years and changes, deep down, both of them still remembered the warmth of their shared past. Sarah had a secret that she held close, a little child born during a time of youthful hope and uncertainty. She always believed that love was more important than what could be measured by blood alone. Even though the child was not widely known, Sarah cherished the life and laughter the child brought into her heart. Now, with her final breath, she wanted someone who could understand that love, in its truest sense, is not just about genes. It is about the promises we make and the care we share. Back in the quiet hospital room, David felt his world tilt and spin. With every heartbeat, he recalled moments from their past, the silly jokes, the whispered dreams, and the time when they planned to be there for each other no matter what. Now Sarah's words had placed him at a crossroads, a path that led toward hidden truths and a future that he was only beginning to understand. Now let me pause and explain a little technical detail in simple words. Just as a story is made from many little words that come together to form a sentence, our bodies are made of tiny parts called cells. Inside these cells is something like a secret recipe called DNA, a set of instructions that make each of us unique. In families, DNA is like a mysterious map that tells us where we come from. But sometimes the map is not as clear as we think, and our hearts end up carrying the real truth. This is why for Sarah, it was never really about the science of blood. It was about a deeper bond, one of true care and heartfelt commitment. After Sarah's whispered secret filled the room, David felt a storm of emotions. He sat quietly, his eyes full of tears and wonder. He began to ask himself, am I really the one who is destined to take care of this child? Could it be that my heart, which once danced with joy at Sarah's side, is meant to guide this little soul? It was then that he repeated, almost in a plea, give me the answer now. His voice was soft but full of urgency, a call from deep within that he needed to know if he could really be the person Sarah hoped him to be. At that very moment, a kind nurse stepped into the room. She looked at David with gentle eyes and said, sometimes answers do not come quickly. Sometimes they come to us like a slow sunrise, warming everything in its light. Trust in your heart, David, and let love be your guide. Her words, as simple as they were, filled the room with hope and taught David that sometimes waiting is part of the journey toward understanding. After that moving encounter, David left Sarah's room with a heavy heart, yet filled with a new determination. He stepped out into the rainy night, where every droplet on the pavement seemed to carry whispers of the past and promises of the future. As he walked along under the streetlights, he thought about all the memories of Sarah and the dreams they had once shared. He remembered the laughter that had filled the air during their youth and the quiet moments of understanding they had talked about. It was in this reflective walk that David decided he needed to find the truth. He needed to know if his own heart could be the perfect home for this little child. That night, as rain fell softly like a lullaby, David met an old friend named Michael. Michael was a wise man with a twinkle in his eye. He said, David, sometimes life gives us puzzles that seem impossible to solve, but every piece, no matter how small, has a place. It is your love and care that will fill in the gaps of this puzzle. Sometimes the answer is not in knowing every truth, but in having the courage to love unconditionally. Now let's talk a little about something called DNA. I know it sounds a bit technical, but imagine DNA like a magical recipe book that tells the story of who we are. Every person has their own unique recipe, made up of tiny ingredients that make them special. Modern science lets us read that recipe with tests that can show if two people share a connection. In David's case, he decided to use this modern magic to see if his cells could match the tiny clues hidden in that child's cells. He knew that a DNA test might reveal answers about family ties, but he also knew that family is often deeper than what simple tests can show. While waiting for the results, David joked with a friend over the phone. Waiting for these results feels like waiting forever for my favorite pizza to deliver on a rainy night. Even in the sadness of the moment, humor reminded him that life, with all its twists and turns, can be a little silly and very beautiful at the same time. After a few long days that felt like an eternity, the results finally arrived. David opened the envelope with trembling hands. But here comes the surprising twist. According to the test, he was not the biological father of the child. For a moment, David's world stood still. He felt a confusing mix of relief and sadness. Yet in that stillness, he remembered Sarah's gentle smile and her clear wish. Even if the blood test said one thing, Sarah's heart had told a much deeper truth. That love is not measured only by DNA, but by the promises we make and the care we share. In her final moments, Sarah had chosen David because she believed that a family is made by the heart. She trusted him to be a loving guardian, someone who would care for the child with every bit of his soul. And so David realized that even though he might not be the father by science, he was the father by love, a true parent in every sense that mattered in the real world. Over the next few weeks and months, David began stepping into this new, unexpected role. He started to prepare a small house where the little one could grow and be nurtured. Every day he decorated a room with bright colors and soft toys. He read stories out loud at bedtime, sang silly songs, and even learned to cook simple meals that made the little child giggle with delight. In these moments, David discovered that caring for another life was not always perfect. Sometimes the days were cloudy or a bit confusing, but every smile from that little face brightened his world like sunshine piercing through the rain. As he cared for the child, David often thought about how life is like a jigsaw puzzle. Some pieces, like Sarah's secret in the DNA test, did not fit the way he expected. But in the end, when you look at the whole picture, every single piece has its own special place. He learned that families are built on love, trust, and many little moments of kindness. Friends, there is an important lesson in David's journey. Sometimes life surprises us with secrets that seem confusing at first. We might think that knowing every little detail is the most important thing. But what truly matters is the love in our hearts and the promises that we make to each other. Like when you share your favorite toy with a friend or give a kind word when someone is sad. Those moments create bonds that are stronger than any test or paper. Think of it like this. Have you ever lost a favorite sock only to find it later in a surprising place? The sock was always yours, even if it was hidden away for a while. In the same way, Sarah's secret was not lost. It was waiting for someone like David, who understood that being a family is about caring and loving deeply. Now, let me share a little personal thought. I think that sometimes the hardest questions in life are like riddles. When I was a child, I used to wonder why my mom and dad sometimes argued over silly things. Later, I learned that even adults have puzzles in their hearts. David's story shows us that answers may not come quickly or in the form we expect, but that does not mean we should stop looking. And if you ever feel like life's questions are too big, just remember, sometimes you just have to laugh like you do when you can't find your missing sock after doing a full room search. In every challenge, there is a bit of humor if you know where to look, even when the answers seem hidden, like secret treasures buried in the sand. A little bit of laughter and hope can lead you to them. And that's something that David and I both learned on this journey. Let's go over some of the magical parts of this story again. First, we had a dying mother, Sarah, whose last words were full of hope and mystery. This child is yours. Then we heard a man, David, whisper urgently, give me the answer now. His words remind us that sometimes the truth comes as a whisper in our hearts rather than as a loud shout. Even when the obvious answer is not the one we expected, it's the answer felt by our hearts that counts the most. Science can help us understand things like DNA in cells, tiny building blocks inside every living thing. But science also shows us that there is more to life than what we can measure. Our hearts, memories, and feelings are just as real and important. It is our capacity to love, care, and even to laugh at ourselves that makes life wonderfully surprising. As days turned into weeks, David made peace with the truth. He realized that while tests and labels might say one thing, the warmth of a human heart says another. He began writing little notes to himself saying, "I will love this child just as Sarah wished." In every decision he made, whether choosing a bedtime story, a favorite meal, or even which silly hat to wear on a rainy day, David was honoring Sarah's final wish. He knew that being a parent was more about compassion, patience, and celebrating all little quirks of life than about what was written in a lab report. Each time he saw the child smile, it was as if the whole world lit up with a gentle glow. And every small laugh reminded him that life had many more beautiful chapters to write. Even when he looked at the test results and saw numbers and codes that did not match a typical parent-child bond, he remembered that families are built by the spirit of love and understanding, not just by science. On a calm afternoon, while sitting on a park bench under a bright blue sky, David made a quiet promise to himself and to the little one. "I may not have been the father on paper, but I will be a father in every way that counts. I will be there to laugh with you, learn with you, and grow with you." In that quiet moment, with birds chirping and a cool breeze gently swaying the trees, David felt that he had truly found his answer, not from a test, but from his heart. This promise is one that we can all learn from. Sometimes life gives us a puzzle piece that doesn't seem to belong. But if you carefully place it with care, love, and patience, the picture becomes complete and beautiful. It is in our little actions, our shared jokes, our gentle words, and even our moments of silent understanding that the true magic of family is revealed. Dear friends, if there is one thing I hope you take away from this tale, it is this: love always finds a way. Even when the answers to our greatest questions seem hidden or confusing, our hearts guide us to what really matters. Sarah's last wish was a call for unconditional love, one that breaks all boundaries of science, labels, or expectations. And David, with every decision he made, proved that love is something you give freely, regardless of what any test might say. In life, we sometimes face moments when we must choose between what is expected and what feels right. And in those moments, trust that the answer will come, not in a rush, but in gentle whispers that lead us to become the best versions of ourselves. Whether you're a parent, a friend, or simply someone who believes in the power of love, remember that every act of kindness helps build a family that goes far beyond blood. As we near the end of today's story, I want to ask you a question. When was the last time you trusted your heart and followed the path of love, even when it wasn't the easiest choice? Just like David, sometimes we must wait for the sunrise of understanding and let the gentle light of hope guide us forward. If this story touched your heart, made you smile, or helped you see the beauty of life's surprises a little clearer, please take a moment now to hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. Your support helps share these messages of kindness far and wide. And if you're curious to hear more incredible stories about love, hope, and the mysteries of life, don't forget to click on the video appearing on the end screen. I promise it will be another journey you won't want to miss. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. Remember, every secret shared, every promise made, And every little laugh can light up even the darkest night. Keep your hearts open, trust in love, and always believe that every answer you seek is just a whisper away.